We have officially been streaming for 2 hours, so you know what that means. It is time for a faction focus. And today's intermission faction focuses are themed around chaos. So, god damn it. So we have, for the first intermission, we'll be covering Chaos Demons, and then for the second intermission, we'll be covering Death Guard. But let's start with Chaos Demons. So, let's see here. Some would-be warlords borrow the powers of the warp for their own ends, but true greatness is reserved for those who belong wholly to the Empyrean Squall. The Chaos Demons that inhabit the hellish realms of the Immaterium are a force unlike any mortal army, rending the very fabric of reality as they assail the galaxy in a wanton carnival of corruption and slaughter. Yeah, so you kind of get the idea right there. They're basically, well, they're demons. That's one of the things I quite like about Chaos Demons, that it very much does what it says on the tin. You know, you're like, oh, Chaos Demons, I wonder what those guys are. They're literally just fucking demons, like there's nothing else. They're just demons. They're literally just demons. Chaos Demons are an aggressive faction who really come into their own in the maelstrom of close combat, though they're by no means helpless at range. Every one of their units sports an invulnerable save. Oh, we're back to them having an invulnerable save, rather than the weird demonic invulnerability rule. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Meaning they have little to fear from the enemy's armor-busting weapons. And an army-wide deep strike means they can surge from warp portals to engage their prey before a shot has even been fired. Well, demons, but they taste like... Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, God. Okay, so yeah, basically, they're ditching... It seems like they're ditching demonic invulnerability as a mechanic from 9th edition, which, if you remember, basically meant that they had 2 different saves based on whether they were in range or in melee, and that save could not be modified. Though, critically, and this caused a bunch of weird rules interactions, it was not an invulnerable save. It was just a save that was invulnerable to being changed, which is very different, which is very, very fucking different. And that caused a bunch of, like, rules bullshit that really did not do well for the game, and so they're just getting rid of it, and thank God. Thank God. Demonic invulnerability was a cool idea, but at the end of the day, it was a failed experiment, and I think we are better off for them just going back to them all having, like, their unique, cool, invulnerable save. Like, just having an invulnerable save that's higher than your regular save, or that's better than your regular save, is already cool. You don't need to, like, gussy it up anymore. But let's look at the faction rules. So, the very presence of a demonic legion is enough to tear reality at the seams, casting a dread pall across the battlefield. The shadow of chaos invigorates Chaos Demons and enfeebles their foes, advancing ever further as these never-born nightmares capture more objectives and infuse the battlefield itself with otherworldly madness. Ooh, that sounds rad, dude. Holy shit. Alright, let's see what they mean here. Alright. The Shadow of Chaos. Let me take a sippy. The Shadow of Chaos. If your army is Legiones Daemonica, certain areas of the battlefield are considered to be within your army's Shadow of Chaos, as follows. Your deployment zone is always within your army's Shadow of Chaos. At the start of any phase, if you control at least half of the objective markers within No Man's Land, until the end of that phase, No Man's Land is within your army's Shadow of Chaos. At the start of any phase, if you control at least half of the objective markers within your opponent's deployment zone, until the end of that phase, your opponent's deployment zone is within your army's Shadow of Chaos. This is a new special rule for Chaos Demons, because they rightfully understood that the original special rule was stupid. Like, 9th edition Demons had like 3 million different special rules because all of them were bad on their own, and so Games Workshop's solution was to just fucking cram them all into one fucking codex without any sense for like good fucking game design. 9th edition Chaos Demons just weren't good. Ugh, there we go. Look at that. I'm taller now. You see that? I'm taller now. How do we feel about me being taller? I kind of like it, you know? Makes me feel powerful. Let's see what you can do with this Shadow of Chaos, with the Demonic Manifestation rule. While a Legiones Daemonica unit from your army is within your army's Shadow of Chaos, each time that unit takes a Battle Shock test, add 1 to that test. And if that test is passed, one model in that unit regains up to D3 lost wounds. And if it's a battle line unit, it just brings back D3 models. Oh shit, okay. So that means that, wow, huh. So every single time they make a Battle Shock test, like every single time something like that happens, they have the chance to regain wounds. That's going to be interesting interacting with the new Tyrannid special rules, because Tyrannid's whole thing now seems to be forcing the opponent to take Battle Shock tests. That's going to be interesting. So it's kind of like Resurrection Protocol? A little bit. Which isn't bad. That's always seemed like something that like Chaos Demons kind of should have, because they're not actually, when you kill something, when you kill a bloodletter, you're not actually killing a bloodletter. You're actually like sending it back to the warp. But then what's stopping that bloodletter from just coming back? You know, like, so this is kind of representing that, and I think that's cool. Demonic Terror. While an enemy is within your army's Shadow of Chaos, each time that unit takes a Battle Shock test, subtract 1 from that test, and if that test is failed, that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Fuck you. Fuck you, Imperial Guard. Oh, what? You got Cadian infantry that has like a fucking 5-up goddamn Battle Shock? You're dead. You're dead. Get out of here. Oh my god, that's gonna be so goddamn funny. Because you know what that means? That means that someone out there is going to get tabled because of this rule. Someone is going to just roll so shit on their Battle Shock tests that they die. They lose their entire army. And I think that's gonna be hilarious. Okay. God damn it. So yeah. A canny Chaos Demons player who leaps on key objectives on turn can turn whole swaths of the battlefield into dangerous no-go zones for their opponent, whether that's no man's land, the space between deployment zones, or their own territory. As if it weren't bad enough for mortals to have their resolve sapped and their foes empowered, demons who use the Demonic Incursion detachment can open their warp rifts even closer to the enemy than usual. Okay, so this is the cool, like, Chaos Demons, the whole regiment just sees a Keeper of Secrets and goes, nope, fuck that, and everyone, including the Commissar, just goes home. I mean, would you not? Would you not? Like, if you saw this thing coming at you, Would you stand and fight? I would fuck off. I'd be like, I'm not getting paid enough for this. Mostly because I'm not getting paid. I'm getting out of there. Each time a Legiones Daemonica unit from your army is set up on the battlefield using the Deep Strike ability, if it is set up wholly within your army's Shadow of Chaos, it can be set up anywhere that is more than 6 inches horizontally away from all enemy models, instead of more than 9 inches away. So this is really important, because now, Deep Strike happens on turn 1. Like, now, if you Deep Strike something, if you set up something in like, reserves, or in Deep Strike, during the deployment phase, they come out of Deep Strike on turn 1. So what this means is that Chaos Demons, if you get turn 2 as Chaos Demons, and your opponent like screams up the board, you could get some really sickening like alpha strikes on them with this special rule. So that's terrifying. That's gonna be fucking scary, dude. There's more army rules. Jesus Christ. Okay. It's common for demons to be conjured forth by mortal followers of the Dark Gods, especially when a warband of Chaos Space Marines pledges allegiance to a particular patron. The Demonic Pact rule allows a certain number of demons to join Chaos armies based on the size of the battle being fought, though they won't bring the Shadow of Chaos with them, as your army faction isn't Chaos Demons. Okay, so this is basically... Okay, that's interesting. If every model from your army has the Chaos keyword, you can include Legiones Daemonica units in your army, even if they do not have the faction keyword you selected in the Select Army Faction step. The combined points cost of such units you can include depends on your battle size, as shown below. None of these models can be your warlord, and they cannot be given enhancements. In addition, if you're war leaders, you can only use Khorne demons. If you're Thousand Sons, you can only use Tzeentch demons. If your army is Death Guard, then you can only use Nurgle demons. And if your army is Emperor's Children, which is essentially what this means. It's like, oh, if your warlord is Lucius the Eternal. I mean, yeah, sure, technically, but if history proves, like, if history stays the same, then Emperor's Children are gonna get their own codex this edition. And, Lucius if your warlord is Lucius the Eternal, is just gonna become, if your army faction is Emperor's Children. You can only include Slaanesh demons. I wonder if they'll give us Snaky Fulgrim 10th. I think they will, and the reason why I think they will is because in 7th edition, we got Codex Thousand Sons for the first time. In 8th edition, we got Codex Death Guard, and then in 9th edition, we got Codex World Leaders. So for the last 3 editions, they've turned one of the, like, major aligned legions of Chaos Space Marines and turned them into their own codex. So yeah, history says they would. And because also every single time their Primarch has come back with them. Every single time. Magnus came back in 7th, Mortarion came back in 8th, and then Angron came back in 9th. So that tells me that Fulgrim is going to come back in 10th with Codex Emperor's Children, which I'm fucking hyped for. I hope it's not another World Eater situation where World Eater's players got like monkey pawed to hell with them getting their own codex. If you're playing a Chaos army, you can just include a certain number of demons for free. Well, not for free, but you can include them despite them not having the same keyword. This is good because demon units being in the codices of other Chaos factions always cause such weird confusion. So I'm glad they're getting rid of it, and they're just being like, yep, you can just take them. Just take them from the Chaos Demons Codex, Thank fucking God. Okay. Now we have the unit spotlight. Baying hordes of lesser warp spawn are commanded by greater demons, giant monstrosities who ripple with the essence of a particular ruinous power. Each is a profane reflection of their progenitor's proclivities. The Keeper of Secrets, for instance, wheels and whirls with Flanesh's grace, weaving through enemy attacks and striking with quicksilver speed. So immediately, let's look at this. Movement 14 inches, 10 toughness. God, they went hard on the alliteration there. They really fucking did. They went fucking all in there. They went balls deep, you could even say, because it's Slanesh, get it, because it's Slanesh. And you get mad at me for the horny joke? No, I got mad at Cassie for saying that they would fuck an Inquisitor. No, you wouldn't. You would not. 14-inch move. 10 toughness. 5 up save, 18 wounds, 6 up leadership, and 5 objective control. That's pretty fucking good. That's pretty fucking good. So, generally speaking, 10 toughness is going to be really good this edition because strength overall is down, and the save literally doesn't matter because 4-up and vulnerable save is the more important part. But let's look at the weapons real quick. So Living Whip, which has the assault, that's a ranged weapon, that's great. Has the assault special rule, which means that you can advance and shoot. Has 12-inch range, 6 attacks, 2-up ballistic skill, 6 strength 6, AP minus 1 D2. So that means it's doing an average of, let's see, 6 attacks, 2 up to hit. That means about 4 hits on average, like 4 to 5 hits on average. Strength 6 means against a Space Marine with toughness 4, wounding on 3s. So that's, of those, let's say 5, just for the fucking, that means 3 go through minus 1 AP, turns the 3-up Space Marine save into a 4-up Space Marine save, which means 1.5 go through, deals about 4 damage. Ugh. Wait, if I did my math right, that doesn't even, like, on average, that on average kills a single Space Marine. Yeah, that's about 2 dead Marines. That's not great. That's not great. But it's fine. Let's look at the other ones. Phantasmagoria Witchfire is somehow worse because it's because AP minus 2 and then D1 means that you basically just reverse the numbers, so like it's still about 2 dead Marines. The math doesn't actually change. Well, what does Devastating Wounds do again? I'll have to look at what Devastating Wounds does. But like, the math on these ranged weapons aren't great. But let's see about the melee weapons. Maybe the melee weapons are where it's at. Ritual Knife, extra attacks. I'm not sure what extra attacks means. So that's 3 attacks, weapon skill 2 up, 6 strength, AP minus 2, D2. That's better. Yeah, okay, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, again, that means on average 2 are hitting. That means on average about 2, like 1.5 will wound. And then 5 up save means those 1.5. So it's, again, it's about 2 dead Marines, unless extra attacks does something crazy, like give it like 8 attacks or something. I'm not sure. It doesn't say anywhere. Snapping Claws, Devastating Wounds, and extra attacks. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the math on these weapons aren't great. the math of these weapons are really not where it's at. But let's see here with the abilities. Does equal to the damage on a critical to wound? Okay, see that does make the math a lot better. That means on average it's more like 4 dead Marines, I think. Because it essentially means that each 6 to wound is a dead Marine. So that increases the math by a bit. That's good. Let's look at the abilities. Demon Lord of Slaanesh aura. While a friendly Slaanesh Legiones Daemonica unit is within 6 inches of this model, improve the armor penetration of melee weapons in that unit by 1. Okay, so not in this unit, but in the... That's a weird way of phrasing it, but yeah. So basically that means if a Keeper of Secrets is 6 inches away from a unit of Demonettes, the AP of those Demonettes gets better by 1. And then they got -1 to hit, just across the board, which is quite good for tankiness. Let's see here. Shining Aegis, FNP 5 up. Wow, okay. So this is weird. So the Keeper of Secrets doesn't do a lot of damage, but this is going to be fucking hard to kill. I never thought that a Keeper of Secrets would be more of a tank than a damage dealer, but here we are. A little bizarre. But hey. That's really weird. Yeah, no, that is really weird for Slaanesh. But in general, though, I mean, I don't know. The Keeper of Secrets is a beautiful model, but it's never, like... It's never been, like, how do you say? The Keeper of Secrets has always been in a weird spot. But this is a weird direction for it, where it's more like a... It's almost more like a distraction Carnifex than like a damage deal. That's weird. That is so weird. But let's look at Be'lakor. Maybe Be'lakor can save this. Okay, so if you don't know the lore for Be'lakor, it's honestly actually quite simple. He's the first demon prince. He's a demon, and if you know his lore in Warhammer Fantasy, it's literally the same lore in Warhammer 40k, which is a thing with a lot of demons units. Their lore between the two like settings is basically completely identical. So whatever. It's almost Pride Month, so I gotta include more of these, you know? I gotta let him know. He went block-free state on the Chaos Gods. God damn it, that's good. Oh, that's good. Let me look at the stat line first. Movement, 12 inches. Okay, that's fine. 10 toughness. That seems like the standard toughness for greater demons is about 10, if we also take into account the Keeper of Secrets. Then we have 4 up save, 18 wounds, 6 up leadership, and 5 OC. Pretty good. Pretty good. So what are these slower than the Keeper of Secrets, given that he has wings? Well, I mean, he's slower than the Keeper of Secrets, but the Keeper of Secrets is a Slaanesh unit, so you would assume it'd be, like, faster than average, right? Even without wings. The Dark Master aura. The area of the battlefield within 6 inches of this model is considered to be within your army's Shadow of Chaos. So what that means is that with the armies, like, with the Shadow of Chaos rules we talked about earlier, those alpha strikes, Be'lakor can facilitate those alpha strikes really well, because in his movement phase, he can just go, he can just run up the board with 12 inches of movement. He can even advance, and guess what? Now, there's this 6-inch circle in no man's land maybe even behind your lines because of the fly keyword, that chaos demons, like bloodletters and shit, can just fucking spill out of, to just fucking just ram into your backside, like, just without consent, you know? Like, it's dangerous. That is dangerous. I think that's going to be really scary on the tabletop. I'm really excited to see what that's like. But, oh, no, I'm terrified of this. To be completely honest with you, I'm fucking terrified of this. Because I remember playing the first edition of Horus Heresy, and they had Chaos Demons in it, but it was really weird. That's a story for another day. But point is, Chaos Demons also had a variety of special rules that basically just let them deep strike wherever the fuck they want, and it was terrifying to fight because you were always out of position. Even if you weren't out of position, you were out of position, and it was scary. I think it's good. I think demons should be kind of scary to fight because they're fucking demons. I wouldn't want to fight them, you know? Let's look at the weapons now. Okay, so immediately these weapons are better. I can tell right away. Because even though the strength is lower, having extra attacks is... So, let's see here. It's 18-inch range, 9 attacks, hitting on 2s. That means about 8 are going through. Strength 5, which means we're still wounding on 3s, which means 8 3s, so about 5 go through that. AP minus 2. Space Marine save becomes a 5-up, so in 5 of them, so that means 4 wound. So that's also 2 Space Marines dead, just about. This is just terrifying, because it's 12 attacks, 2 up, which means about 10 are going through. Strength 6, which means we're still wounding on 3s. But then minus 3 AP turns a Space Marine 3-up into a 6-up, which means that most of those 10, which means like most of the wounds are gonna go through the armor, which means we're looking more at like 4 dead Marines, which is pretty good, all things considered. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh! Look at these fucking melee weapons, dude. Holy shit. Okay, so the Blade of Shadows, strike, lethal hits. Lethal hits means it does something on a 6-up to wound, I think. Most of these special abilities are, a thing happens on a 6-up, which is fine. But regardless, so Blade of Shadows more like the lawnmower. Yeah, no, this is fucking incredible. So 6 attacks, 2-up of strength 14. That means we're wounding Space Marines on 2s, which means of those 5 attacks that go through, roughly 5 attacks. Sometimes it's more like 4.5. We're just going to round up to 5 because you can't roll a 0.5 on a d6. Come after me. So 5 up. So 5 hit, roughly. Strength 14 against tough... Yeah, so that's wounding on 2s. And then... So that means of those 5, about 4 are going to go through. And then... AP minus 4, which means Space Marines don't get a save. And then D6 plus 1 is going to be an average of 4 damage. Just fucking get them. They're dead. That's good as hell. That is good as hell. And the sweep version is actually quite good as well, because 14 attacks that wound Space Marines on a 2-up that do 1 damage apiece. That means 12. That's like 12 Space Marines dead right there. Something like that, I think. No, maybe more like 10 dead Space Marines. Regardless, it's a lot of dead Space Marines. fucking terrifying, honestly. Like, Pellicor is just fucking... He's just killing him. He's just killing him. And then, finally, we have the Shadow Form abilities. This is just a buff that you get to pick at the start of every battle round. So you can either have him or him anything within 6 inches only being able to be targeted by models within 18 inches, which if they're within 18 inches of Pellicor, they're dead. Pall of Despair. In the Battle Shock step of your opponent's command phase, if an enemy unit that is below its starting strength within 6 inches of this model, that unit must make a Battle Shock test. For the purposes of this ability, if a unit has a starting strength of 1, it is considered to be below its starting strength while it has lost 1 or more wounds. Jesus. Yeah, okay, so if you're a character, what this means essentially is that if you're a character and you've lost at least 1 wound, Pellicor can just make you take a Battle Shock test. Regardless, you know? Like, that's terrifying. Because obviously, the special rule means that if you fail that Battle Shock test, you take damage. You take possibly significant damage, you know? And then finally we have Shadow Lord, which is, you just gives the ability to have, units within 6 inches of this model re-rolls on Battle Shock and leadership tests. That's good because what that means essentially is that interacts really nicely with that rule where if they pass a Battle Shock test, they regain D3 lost models. Yeah, no. Battle Shock itself is a terrifying mechanic, and the fact that they have so many ways of exploiting it is going to be really interesting. I think Pellicor is going to be a terrifying presence on the battlefield. We are running over time. The intermission is only supposed to be 30 minutes. It's been 40 minutes, but we're going to keep going because I am in love with this. Units normally have to pick just one of their melee weapons to fight with in a given turn, but many warriors go to war with powerful steeds, vicious pets, or weaponized cybernetics. The extra attacks weapon ability allows these to make extra attacks. Oh, thank you! It's particularly common among Chaos Demons who are absolutely festooned with tails, claws, bile blades, and other prehensile nastiness. So in other words, what that means is that if... Okay, so this is actually important. If we go back here... Ritual Knife. Ooh, okay. That means Ritual Knife and Snapping Claws are each basically able to be used for free. Like, normally you can only make one melee attack with one of your weapons, but if it has the extra attacks characteristic, it means that, yeah... It means that you can also attack with those weapons. So that means 2 dead Space Marines on average. Like, this is more like 2.5. So that's actually 5 dead Space Marines right there. And then the Witz-Tealer Sword is 6 attacks, 2 up weapon skill, 8 strength, -2, D3. So that's going to be an average of, like, let's see, 4 go through... Then wounding on 2s, so like 3 go through on average, I think. And then AP -2, which means 5 up save. That means on average both go through. And then D3. So that's more like 2, 5, 7 Dead Space Marines. Which is still kind of not a lot, but it's significantly better than what we thought it was. Regardless. Anyway, let's go back over to the weapon spotlight. So, yep, extra attacks. That is going to be a big deal. Bile Blade. Let's see here. We got this is one of the weapons that the Nurgle. Fuck, what the fuck is the Nurgle guys called? Great Unclean Ones. Sorry, I had a fucking brain fart there. These are the ones that the Great Unclean Ones have. And let's see, it's range, melee, obviously, so it's 3 attacks, 2 up weapon skill, strength 6, AP minus 2, and D2. So again, we're looking at about 2 to 3 dead Space Marines, I think, here. But of course, because of extra attacks, it does not impact your action economy at all, meaning it's actually 2 free dead Space Marines, which is significantly better. So here we go on a this is Skarbrand. This is Skarbrand's weapons, Slaughter and Carnage. Jesus Christ. Okay, so let's look at the sweep first. So it's 16 attacks, 2 up weapon skill, which means on average about 14 go through. Strength 8, which means it wounds Space Marines on 2s. So of those 14, about 12 to 13 will go through. AP minus 1, D2. Okay, so we're looking at like AP minus 1 means it's a 4-up save. So those 12 become 6. So that's 6 dead Space Marines in a single attack. That's pretty good. But let's look at this. But then the strike version is 8 attacks at 2 up weapon skill, which means about 6 to 7 go through. Strength 16, so wounding on 2s, which means about 5 to 6 of those go through. AP minus 4, don't even get a save. So that's 5 dead Space Marines. So the sweep is still slightly more efficient against Astartes, but not by much. And this is obviously more efficient against Terminators, because it's going to be wounding Terminators on 2s. Great. Awesome. Excellent. Terrifying, really. But still, awesome. Excellent. I am liking what I am seeing. Okay, and then finally, to end it, we're going to look at a stratagem spotlight. So, Demonic Incursion. Strategic ploy stratagem. Okay, so it's a corrupt real space is what it's called. Demons instinctively feel the need to despoil and corrupt every corner of real space, the better to sustain their otherworldly forms. So, at the start of any command phase, you select one Legiones Daemonica unit from your army that is within range of an objective marker you control. Oh, and then it becomes sticky. Okay, so they can make an objective sticky and also make 6 inches with around that objective marker the Shadow of Chaos, which again interacts with all these other rules. Okay, this is excellent. I love this. I love this. So let's look at the word from the studio. Well, actually, let's discuss this first. I'm sorry. What this means is that this is another way that the army basically interacts with board control. That seems like the big thing with Demons this edition is going to be taking control slowly of parts of the board and basically boxing the opponent into their deployment zone and then fucking slaughtering them, you know, just like encroaching upon them, however quickly or slowly or whatever. I guess it depends on the legion, but like you're like slowly taking control of more and more of the map. You're covering more of the map in the Shadow of Chaos, and as you cover more of the map in the Shadow of Chaos, you get all these bonuses, and you basically get carte blanche to do whatever the fuck you want on the battlefield. That is amazing. That is cool. I think leaning into that idea is a good idea. Furthermore, I think this is a far more cohesive version of the army than it was before. Let's look at the word from the studio. Robin from the Warhammer Design Studio. He's been quoted a lot, Robin. I don't know who Robin is because there's no last name, but I feel like we've heard this name several times before. Robin from the Warhammer Design Studio has given us the lowdown on the cackling denizens of the warp. When one faces an army of chaos demons, they are facing the warp itself. For where they fight, the boundaries between real space and the immaterium are thin. That's the intent behind their army rule. The idea being that as the chaos demons fight, they spread the warp itself over the battlefield. And while such a thing is beneficial to demons, it's a literal hellscape to mortals. Chaos demon armies are predominantly melee focused, and with every unit being able to deep strike, it's no easy task for a foe to keep themselves safe. This is especially true thanks to the demonic incursion detachment rule, Warp Strike, which enables demons to claw their way out of the immaterium to slaughter anyone who venture into their territory. So yeah, basically, as I just said, I am correct. The idea they're going for is to have the chaos demons basically corner the opponent by covering the map in the shadow of the warp, and then both forcing them to play defensively and also limiting their options to play defensively because of like deep strike shenanigans. I think this is excellent. I think the things they've shown off here are really great. One of the big issues with like 8th and 9th edition, especially 9th edition codices, is that they lacked a sense of cohesion, you know? Like, you had these special rules, but what you want in a game like Warhammer is for all of the special rules to link together, right? But instead, what we often had was, like, honestly, a great example of this was the 9th edition Codex for Chaos Demons, where instead of all of the special rules being like this, being linked together, playing into each other, they were islands. They were over here. They were distant. And they didn't really play with each other that much. And that's bad because it makes it feel like less of a cohesive force. But what I've been saying with these faction focuses, and what I think Chaos Demons is a really great example of, is them fixing that, is them taking these mechanics and scrapping most of them, and instead focusing on a smaller list of specialties that really, really, really work into each other, and really, really just play with each other in a way that I think is going to be really interesting. I am interested. I am fascinated. I think it's going to be sick. Is my point. That's Chaos Demons. Okay, so oh god, this intermission section almost lasted an hour. Okay, we're gonna... So yeah, that's my thoughts on Faction Focus Chaos Demons. We're gonna go back to playing... something. Fuck on! Yeah, no, it's... I hope that they, I also hope we don't run into an issue that 9th edition also ran into, where most of the demons were just useless. So everyone just played Tzeentch, because Flamers of Tzeentch were the only good unit in the Codex. But no, I think what they've showed off has been very, very promising. But we need to go back to murdering demons. So, let's go. Ooh, got him. Ooh, get him.